Hello and welcome to Kirly-Sue's Plant-Based Kitchen with me, your host, Kirly-Sue. And today and always on our show, we discuss all things plant-based and also a little bit about sustainability. So if you would like to send a message or a question to myself or my guest, all you have to do is send a text message to 82228. Start your message with the word hope, then leave a space, and then put your question or your message. And I'll just repeat that for you. So you just text to 82228, start with the word hope, then leave a space, and then leave your message or your question, and it will come through and we'll be able to hear from you. So joining me on my show today is the lovely Katie from Littel Geen Ducks. And I'm going to get her to tell you about who she is and what she does. But welcome to the show, Katie.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's lovely to see you.
Thank you. And your bedroom looks fab, by the way.
I think it looks like it's been styled today. It doesn't usually look like this.
Of course it does. For those of you listening, it looks really nice. It's the same kind of color palette as my bedroom as well, that sort of silvery gray and so forth. Love it. Anyway, tell us a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do.
So my name's Katie, as you said, and I run what started as a vegan Instagram account. So I've been vegan for 3.5 years now. And when I started cooking more plant-based recipes, I decided that just more for myself, just to have them as inspiration, I'd set up an Instagram page. So I started that, and then it developed into more of a thing than I was expecting it to be, and then I was made redundant about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago now, and I decided to set up what is now Littel Geen Duck, the company, which is a copywriting and content agency, and I specialise in writing for ethical, sustainable and plant-based brands. So yes, that's me in a nutshell.
All right. Why is it called Littel Geen Ducks? Littel Geen Duck,
I didn't know what to call it, so I asked my daughter, who was I think nearly 3 at the time, and she just said Littel Geen Duck.
Oh, bless.
Oh, that sounds good. That'll do. And it just stuck. So that's been me ever since. Yeah.
I thought you were going to give me something different, but no, that's so cute. It's memorable.
It's by a 3-year-old.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. So when you copyright, tell me a bit about why would I, if I'm a vegan or a sustainable company, choose to go to somebody who is a vegan? I mean, I know personally because I am a vegan, but just for those of us, the viewers and listeners, why would it be beneficial?
I think most of my clients say they just like to be working with someone who is genuinely on the same page as them. So people are really, really passionate about their businesses. And I think even more so when it comes to matters that are quite important, like sustainability and looking after the planet. And people are quite keen to be involved with people, to work with people who not even necessarily know what they're talking about, because when I first started, I didn't know what I was doing. But more the fact that I share their passion for their business. I understand why they're doing it, and so it's a lot easier for me to find and replicate their voice and be able to write in their style, because I'm already kind of living in that world and I'm already very passionate about that world. So that's what most of them say draws them to me, rather than just a more general copy or content writer.
Because you get it, you understand it, as opposed to just being a wordsmith. It's something that resonates with you as well. And that obviously to me was showing the writing as well.
Yeah, it does, and it makes it more interesting for me as well, because I'm always writing about things that I really care about. I never sit down and think, oh, this is awful because I don't like the subject matter. I always like the subject matter, so that really helps me too.
Win-win. So tell me about your vegan journey. How did you get started and so forth?
So it started for me 3.5 years ago, but it actually started for my husband first. So when our daughter was born in September 2015. My husband, I think, started, even without talking to me, started thinking, I feel a bit uneasy about eating animal products now, or eating meat. And he was the biggest meat eater you ever know. He would, if I cooked him a vegetarian meal, he'd say it's missing the meat. He couldn't go a meal without eating meat. So out of the blue, the following Christmas, he had taken our daughter to a children's farm where they have animals that you can pet and feed and stuff like that. And it just hit him that these animals could be his child, and how would he feel if his child was taken away from him? And he prides himself on being quite true to his morals and his principles. So once he started having those thoughts, he had to make the change really quickly. At the time, I was on maternity leave. He was working full time and out of the house kind of 10, 11 hours a day, and I was doing all the cooking, and I just thought, what on earth am I going to cook for him? What am I going to make? So I started looking into plant-based recipes, and I didn't care enough about meat to be making myself a meat dish and him a vegan dish. So when he switched, we pretty much switched at home immediately. Apart from the odd thing that I just couldn't find a replacement. Oh, I was pregnant as well. I was pregnant with my second baby, and I had awful morning sickness. And I really wanted to switch over to non-dairy milk because I could see why he was doing it. But I just couldn't find one that worked for me and didn't make me feel really queasy. So I found that quite a difficult transition at the time. But once I found a milk that I was happy to drink, then it just kind of came naturally. And so we've all been vegan as a family now for 3.5 years. But he was the family pioneer.
That's amazing, because a lot of the times it's the other way around. It's usually the woman who starts. But it's good to hear that it can be the other way around as well, which is really great.
Yeah, it is good.
So do you ever receive any criticism about bringing up your children vegan?
No, not really.
Oh, that's good.
We've had, it's strange. I don't know whether it's just because our families are very supportive. I think initially people were a bit concerned, but they also know that I'm quite a detailed person and I do my research. And so if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it properly. And so there's not been any really awful outward criticism. I don't know what people are saying when we're not there. It's possible that it's completely different behind our backs, but no, actually on the whole everyone's been really supportive. But we did have in March we got back from traveling around the world for 9 months with our children, so we kind of I felt like we were almost immune to any criticism then, because we were just living in our family bubble. It was just the 4 of us traveling, and we were staying in self-catering properties most of the time, and so we didn't have the nursery or the school or family or friends or particularly around. So it might just be that people got more and more used to the idea while we were away and not with them, and then when we got back, it's all fine.
That's amazing. Where did you travel to? That's great.
So we started off on the east coast of the US in Boston, and then travelled across Canada, and then went down the west coast of the US, went to Costa Rica. We spent our daughter's 4th birthday in Disney World in Florida.
Oh, wow.
And then we went to Hawaii, and then we spent 2 months in each of Australia and New Zealand. And we were supposed to be traveling through Asia, but then the COVID epidemic hit, and we ended up having to come home sooner than we'd hoped. But we had 9 months of really, really good travel, and it was amazing.
And what was it like traveling as a vegan? Because I mean, I've worked and been to America multiple times, so my experiences, it varies for me in America, but how has it been just traveling in general as a vegan?
Generally fine. I think if it had just been the 2 of us, we probably would have been staying in hotels and going out to eat a bit more, and and we may have encountered more problems, but you can find fresh fruit and vegetables and beans and pulses in every small shop and supermarket anywhere you go. So we didn't really find it a problem because we were cooking for ourselves most of the time. So it was fine. We'd had the odd time where we'd go out somewhere and we'd think, oh, we'll grab some lunch, and we couldn't grab some lunch because none of the restaurants had anything that was suitable. But generally speaking, it was okay. And we purposefully chose places that, because we were traveling with young children, it wouldn't be too difficult as well. We didn't want to put any undue stress on ourselves.
No. Okay. No, I love traveling, and I've found that when you travel, then you see the differences with regards veganism in different countries. For example, I've been to 46 different countries, and one of the countries I went to where I struggled the most was Norway, and I didn't expect to. I mean, even in the hotel I was staying in, I just thought, I need to go home. For one of the meals I had was carrot sticks, and I managed to find a vegan yogurt, and that was the meal. I mean, it was really bad. But in stark contrast, I've been to other countries. For example, my country of origin is Jamaica. That's where my parents are from. And when I go to Jamaica, because there is, it's not alien to Jamaica. Veganism is not alien. It's just called something different. So there's a group of people in Jamaica, which you may have heard of, called the Rastafarians, who have the dreadlocks. They have food which is called Untitled food, and Untitled food is whole food, plant-based. And so they're really particular. So they wouldn't eat stuff like tofu because it's processed. So they're very much farm to table, and it's got to be vegan. They don't even have salt and stuff like that. But to be honest, when you taste their food, don't need any salt. It's just amazing. So there was a contrast between going to Jamaica and Norway. But I've found that when you travel as a vegan, the less moany you are, the easier it is. If you just make up your mind that there might not be anything, and if there is anything, there's a bonus. So it's just try not to be, because I try not to be the kind of miserable complaining vegan kind of person.
I totally agree.
Yeah, because some people can just draw attention. Oh no, there's no vegan options, and you think, well, you go to a steakhouse. Why do you think there was going to be, kind of thing? So as a vegan parent, what are some typical kind of dishes that are your kids' favorites?
Anything with pasta generally. Although my kids' ultimate dish, if we were to offer them the choice, they would either choose a jam and peanut butter sandwich, which is a classic, really, isn't it? Or something with pasta, preferably pesto pasta. So that's the go-to when we're just feeding them. But we generally all eat together as a family. So it really varies. At the moment, with the weather getting a bit cooler, we're all about the kind of shepherd's pie, and we had our first roast of the autumn on Sunday, so that was nice. And I think my go-to every single week, without fail, I make a red lentil dal, which is nice and really simple. And even when the children are saying, oh, I don't like this, I don't want to eat it, they always eat it because they genuinely really enjoy it once they forget that they're complaining to me.
So what do you usually have yours with?
Usually just with rice. Or maybe some naan if we can grab some from the shop up the road. I keep meaning to make my own naan because I know how easy it is, but I also keep buying it.
I love dal or any chickpea curried anything I love. And what I usually do in the supermarket near me, you can buy parathas, and they're really cheap, and they're frozen, and you just put them on. I've got a talwa, which is kind of like a flat frying pan thing with no sides. It's like an Indian kitchen equipment kind of thing, and you just put it on there with some spray oil, and it's fabulous. It tastes wonderful. I had some friends over for afternoon tea, but for me, afternoon tea, you've got to have more than just sandwiches. So I did the parathas, and they were like, oh, this is great, did you make them yourself? I'd say, I would like to lie and say I did, but I didn't. They were frozen. They were like, oh, they taste homemade. I said, well, they were semi-homemade kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh wow, I'll have to get the name of those from you because that sounds amazing.
Yeah, parathas. Yeah, I'll send you a link to it. So, as a vegan business owner, have you found any challenges being in business at all? Because sometimes I run a vegan business owners forum, well, Facebook page called Vegan Business Owners, and sometimes they have challenges being a vegan in business. Do you come across any at all?
I keep trying to think of challenges that I've come up with when you're asking me about these challenges, but I genuinely haven't.
Oh, this is great. I'm glad.
It's been really, really positive. I haven't at all. It's great, and actually, most people are really happy that I've chosen something that I actually care about, and I'm not just doing it for money. I genuinely want these businesses to thrive and to survive, because the more vegan and sustainable businesses out there, the better, as far as I'm concerned. So no, I think maybe I've not come across any challenges because I'm kind of operating in my own little echo chamber. So my Instagram account is 99% vegans, so it's unlikely I would come up against any pushback from anybody there. My family and friends are really supportive anyway, so there's nothing from that. So it's great. It's all been a really good experience so far.
That's really good. And I like to ask about challenges when I'm interviewing people who are vegan, because there is still this kind of misconception that if you are vegan, your life is going to be filled with challenges and drama, and it's going to be really difficult. And it's really refreshing for you to kind of share with us that actually it's not been a problem at all, which is good, because I know some people do face challenges because not everybody's families are understanding, and not everybody has a business that it's just been easy to get where you want to go. But it just shows that it's like any other business and any other dietary choice. There's challenges sometimes, and sometimes there isn't any at all, really. Yeah, I just wanted to show you, I love the fact that nowadays it's more acceptable to give your children vegan food, because I remember when I was younger, people used to kind of say, oh, you can't give your child vegan food, they won't have enough protein. It was kind of not a thing. But I was approached by a publishers a while ago, and I've had this book published called Cooking with Kids, which is 75 vegan recipes just for kids with colorful pages. They've done a great job, because I didn't design it, they did. Because what people don't realize is when you have a book published, you just send them the text and everything else they do it. So yes, the inside with all the fabulous color pictures and so forth, it's been their job. So this has been going really well. So
fantastic. Oh, my daughter would love that. She's 5, so she's just getting into cooking with me, and she got an apron and the little wooden spoon for her birthday. So she's she's really into it.
Yes. So what if any projects do you have coming up soon, or in the not too distant future?
In terms of work projects,
yes.
There's a couple I can't talk about, which is annoying, but my main project at the moment is working with a new app which is called iLuna. And they're sustainability focused rather than vegan focused, but they are creating this app that will help people develop new sustainable habits, but just on a really starting small level. So they've got a behavioural scientist that they work with who actually has an input into how the app is constructed and how people interact with it to make them have more chance of success. So I'm writing all the content for them, and it's going really well. We're kind of preparing for launch at the moment, so it's brilliant.
Okay, no, that's really good to know, because I love to hear about different sustainable projects and things that are going on as well, because just to kind of, for yourself and the benefit of our listeners and viewers, the Seventh Adventist Radio is owned by the Seventh-day Adventist Church, which is a Christian religion, and the religion doesn't dictate, but it encourages you to be vegan or vegetarian. So the vast majority of Adventists are plant-based. Not all, some eat meat and fish, but in general, most people have a plant-based diet. And in our churches, if they're having like a potluck, it's always a plant-based diet. So so we're always, I've been familiar with veganism from a very young age because I grew up in the church. And also when it comes to the plant-based diet, the church helps us to have one because it's believed to be healthier, and the kind of premise for our church is healthy mind, healthy body, healthy spirit. Because if your body isn't healthy, it's difficult for your mind to be healthy, and vice versa and so forth. So it's about having a good balance to what you do. So that's why I became a vegetarian rather, when I was 18. And I was a vegetarian for up until 7 or 8 years ago. And then 7 or 8 years ago, I became a vegan after watching different documentaries. And I read the book, The China Study by T. Colin Campbell, and all this information, Forks Over Knives, the classic ones, Vegucated. And then I made the decision to become a vegan myself. So for me, veganism has changed a lot over the years, because back in the day, there probably wasn't even such thing as a vegan business, maybe a whole food shop, maybe one or two, but there's been like an explosion of them, or maybe they've just kind of come to the forefront more than ever before. So what would you say are some of your reasons for becoming vegan? I mean, I could probably guess, but just for those listening, not everybody who's a listener or viewer is a vegan, so that it's always good for people to share what kind of helped them to make that decision.
Okay. So the main motivation for me was definitely animal related. So when my husband first started talking to me about going vegan, I started looking into the meat and dairy industry, and I think I was actually more horrified by the dairy industry than I was by meat, just because I kind of think, at least, it sounds awful, but at least the animals that are slaughtered have an end and don't kind of live in this perpetual misery that the dairy industry is now becoming much more well known for. So yeah, it was definitely ethically motivated to begin with, but then I think as with anything, once you become more ingrained in doing something, you look into the other reasons why people might do it, and then the kind of the environmental and health reasons were the next things, more environmental than health for me, to be honest, were the next things to kind of come into my vision. So once I started looking at the impact that the meat and dairy industry has on the planet and how damaging it is, especially factory farming, it just cemented my decision even more. And the reason I say that I'm not particularly vegan for health reasons is because I'm a little bit obsessed with all the new products that come out. So everything that comes out, oh, we've got to try that, we have to do that.
There's so much. I get sent products because of the platform that I have, and some of the products I'm like, I can't really say this is good because it's just loaded with sugar, but it tastes so good, kind of thing. Yes, I know. There's so many really nice ones. For me, becoming a vegan, my reasons were more health. And to be honest, it wasn't anything to do with animals, but during my time being a vegan, I've seen more and more information about what happens to animals, how they turn into a burger. I mean, obviously I knew it comes from an animal, but it's different to know than to see what happens. And I've become more aware of animal, cruelty and things like that, because some of it I look at and think, look, even if this particular animal isn't your favorite, it's horrible, because you can see sometimes the animals scared and stuff like that. So to me, even though my main thing is for health reasons, I do think from an ethical point of view, I just think, I don't understand when people say, oh, I'm an animal lover, and then they eat them. I just think, okay, how does that work? I'm not judging. I'm just saying I don't get it. Don't want to judge, but
Yeah, I think it's just the way we were all brought up, isn't it? I mean, it took me 34 years to get to the point I got to, and so everybody's on a kind of a different learning path, and everyone's at a different point where. So I always said I was an animal lover, and didn't even make the connection that I was then eating the animals that I loved the most. Like pigs are my favourite animals, and quite happily would eat a bacon sandwich. And so it's strange how you can disconnect yourself from something when it's convenient for you. But I think everybody just needs a different amount of time and a different amount of information, and if we're all going to get there, I think there's no point in pressurizing people or telling them they're bad, or because we're not bad people. We just haven't got the full picture we need to make the decision. So
absolutely. So I think living in the world today, and particularly living in Western countries, it's easy to have the disconnect, because there's one of the pastors in our church. He's an Indian gentleman, and he was born and raised in India, but his kids were born here. So he was talking to his sons about where does food come from. So one of them, he said to his son, so where do eggs come from? And the son said, son was about 6 or 7 at the time. And the son said, Tesco. And he went, okay. And he went, okay, so where does milk come from? And he was thinking, oh yeah, he's definitely going to get this right. And the son went, oh, easy, Tesco. And he thought, right, trip to India, because this is not working, because he just thought, I can't believe my son does not make the connection that milk comes from a cow and eggs come from a chicken. And I thought, well, why would he? Because every time you get milk or you get eggs, for example, you go into a supermarket, you're not realizing where it's coming from. So that's in itself is easy to make the disconnect, because we're not living in farming communities or surrounded by perhaps the right things for us to kind of know firsthand and make that connection.
Yeah, absolutely. I was saying exactly the same thing to somebody about sustainability the other day as well. I think living in Western countries, it's quite easy to not see the impact that our actions have on people who don't have the control over what they do as much as we do, or don't have the privilege to be able to make decisions that can make a difference. I think it's exactly the same thing. We're very disconnected in a way from the rest of the world, and from how we can make a difference to people, and how and animals, I guess, as well.
Absolutely. Well, that brings us to the end of our interview. So thank you so much. It's been amazing to speak to you today. So just before you go, can you tell me tell our viewers and listeners and myself where we can find you on social media?
Yes, sure. I'm mainly active on Instagram. I tend to hang around there quite a lot. I've got 2 different accounts. So my food and just kind of general life account is at Littel Geen Duck, which is quite easy to remember. And my work account, which is quite a new one, is called Ethical Copywriting. So depending on what you're interested in, come and give me a follow, say hello. I'd love to have a chat with everyone.
Okay. And are you anywhere else on social media?
I'm on Facebook as well, but not particularly active, and Twitter as well, which is where I know where we connected. But again, I don't use Twitter that much. So Instagram is the main one to find me. Okay. Or my website is just littlegeenduck.co.uk, and all my contact details are on there if anybody wants to send me a message.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. It's been lovely to speak to you today. Thank you so much. So all I would say now is thank you everybody for tuning in to the Kirly-Sue's Plant-Based Kitchen show. Eat good, eat clean, eat blessed. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.